You missed it, Bree said between bites of cake, grinning like she'd just told the punchline of an inside joke I wasn't part of. I blinked. Missed what? The dinner. It was yesterday. I looked around the kitchen, hoping someone, anyone, would say she was joking. My sister kept drying plates like nothing had happened. My aunt pulled out her phone and started showing me photos. I saw it all. My entire extended family seated under string lights in my parents' backyard. Everyone dressed up like it was a damn wedding reception. My uncle raising a glass. My mom giving a speech. Toasts. Kids playing. Even people I hadn't seen since high school. And me? Nowhere. Not even a text. I stood there with dish soap on my hands and this weird buzzing in my ears. Wait, that was the family dinner? The summer one? I asked. My cousin Bree laughed again. Yeah, dude, you really didn't know? That's, when my sister finally chimed in, dry, flat, like she was commenting on the weather. Maybe take the hint next time. I didn't say anything. Didn't throw the plate, didn't storm out. I just dried my hands, walked to the living room, picked up the birthday card I'd brought for my nephew with a $100 Lego gift card inside, and quietly slid it back into my jacket pocket. Then I left. On the drive home, I told myself a lie I'd told myself 100 times. Maybe they forgot. But this wasn't forgetting. This was a strategic erasure. For years, I'd been showing up. Birthdays, graduations, holidays, always bringing a gift, always staying late to clean up, always being the easy one no one had to worry about. I wasn't the black sheep. I was the shadow, and apparently shadows don't get invited. That night, I didn't sleep. I made coffee at 2 a.m. and started opening folders on my laptop, legal ones, financial ones. See, what no one in my family ever bothered to ask was what I actually do for a living. I'm in back-end systems infrastructure. I work remote, I build networks and redundancy plans for multi-state corporations. Translation? I make good money, better than they ever guessed. I also own 4 rental properties under an LLC no one knows I created, and I've quietly used that LLC to pay for things they do use, things like emergency dental work for Uncle Rick, Etsy business funding for my sister, and even anonymous home repair grants for my parents' roof and plumbing. They just thought it was lucky timing. They never thought to ask who helped. Why would they? I was invisible. But now, I was done. The next morning I called my lawyer, canceled every account, froze every fund, sent notices to the bank and my financial advisor. Then I waited. It didn't take long. 4 days later, Mom called me in a panic. The HVAC just blew out. It's 90 in the house. I called the guy you always use, but he said your maintenance plan didn't renew. What happened? I took a slow sip of my coffee and smiled. I shut down the fund. Wait. What? I figured it was time to redirect my energy elsewhere. I mean, I wasn't even at the family dinner, right? I'm sure. Someone else will step up. Silence, not a confused silence, a realization silence. I ended the call before she could scramble to backpedal. And that's when I remembered the lake house. Our family's pride and joy, used every Memorial Day for barbecues, fireworks, bonfires, and booze. I hadn't been invited the last 3 years, but I knew they'd still go. What they didn't know, I co-owned it now. When Aunt Margaret died, her share went to my cousin Lucy. And when Lucy got into a tight spot, she sold it. To me. Quietly. Through a holding company, which meant I owned half, and there was a clause, a very old, very dusty clause in the deed that allowed either owner to restrict usage in the event of unresolved conflict. So I filed the paperwork, 3 days before the family would arrive, locked the gates, posted a notice. Then I drove up, parked my truck sideways across the driveway, and waited. At noon, the convoy arrived. Mom, my sister, cousin Bree, their kids, coolers, lawn chairs, the usual chaos. Then they saw me on the porch just sitting there with a cold beer. My sister got out first. You're here? Yep, I said casually. Memorial Day. Thought I'd finally enjoy it. You need to move your truck. Nope, I said calmly. House is on restricted access, you'd know that if you opened your mail. You're joking, she said, her voice sharp. My mom tried to diffuse. Joel, honey, let's not do this, we can talk. I shook my head. You already did talk, I heard it loud and clear. They yelled, pleaded, guilt-tripped. I stayed seated. And that's when my cousin, who laughed at me at the birthday party, finally screamed, You're breaking the family apart. I stood up, looked her dead in the eyes and said, No, I'm just done pretending it wasn't already broken. And I hadn't even played my final card yet. They didn't leave right away. They stood at the bottom of the steps, Mom, my sister, cousin Bree, like I was some glitch in their system, like if they stared long enough I'd reset. I didn't. I gave your mom the master bedroom. My sister tried again, forcing a smile. We just need to unload the car. You don't have to stay, Joel. I laughed, not bitter, not angry. Just tired. I do have to stay, I said. Because I co-own this place now and we're doing things differently. What the hell does that mean? Bree snapped. It means this isn't a free Airbnb for people who ghost me all year and show up with folding chairs and expectations. It means we draft a shared use agreement, we split costs, we rotate holidays, or, I shrugged, we sell. You're seriously pulling this now? Over some dumb dinner you weren't invited to? Bree spat. I stepped down one stair. It wasn't just a dinner. It was a final test. One I didn't even know I was taking, but I definitely failed. Mom stepped forward then, face tight, voice trembling just enough to sound sincere. We didn't mean to hurt you. I stared at her, and for a second I almost caved. Almost. But then I remembered the years of being forgotten, the fake smiles, the missed calls, the group texts that somehow never included me, and suddenly that moment of softness evaporated. You did hurt me, I said. That part's not up for debate, but I've spent too many years minimizing it for your comfort. This place was the only space I still felt connected to. And even, that was taken for granted. That shut them up. They left after that, not gracefully, not silently. My sister muttered something about lawsuits. Bree called me a manipulative little shot. My mom cried, but not for me, for the image of a family that no longer existed. And I stood on the porch, beer in hand, watching their 3 cars vanish down the gravel road like a memory I wasn't sad to forget. The next morning, my inbox was fire. My uncle texted, "What's this about you freezing the college account?" My cousin messaged, "Is it true you pulled the plug on Dad's dental grant? His surgery is next week." Then came the emails, then the voicemails, then the voice notes from family members who hadn't spoken to me in over a year, and every single one had the same theme. How could you do this to us? Never thank you for all the help. Never sorry we left you out. Just straight to the guilt. I didn't respond, not until the group chat lit up. Not the new one, the old one. The one I'd created 5 years ago to organize Grandpa's funeral. I still had admin privileges, so I renamed it, Maybe Take the Hint. Then I removed every single member. One by one. I didn't type a word, just quiet deletions. It felt like cutting cords. And it was surprisingly peaceful, but I wasn't done because the lake house, that was only half the storm. The real twist was still locked away in a fireproof box in my apartment, under a stack of legal folders labeled things like contingency release and revocation protocol. Inside were contracts, every single dollar I'd funneled to my family, all traceable through my LLC. Emergency loans, education stipends, repair grants, all with hidden revocation clauses I'd slipped in. I'm not stupid. I'd watched how they treated people once the handouts stopped. Needed leverage. I just never thought I'd use it. Until now. I signed 12 letters, each one legally terminating funding for 12 different family members, and I mailed them. 3 days later, the ripple hit hard. Uncle Marty's landlord sent him an eviction. Notice, he hadn't paid rent in 2 months, assuming I'd cover it again like last year. My sister's Etsy store shut down. Turns out her part-time virtual assistant was paid through my corporate account, which no longer existed. Even the home Wi-Fi at Mom's house went out. I used to pay it annually in one lump sum, not this year. I wasn't trying to punish them. I was letting the silence speak for once. And then, just as I was starting to breathe easy, a message popped up from my cousin Bree. "You think this is over? Think again. You made enemies, Joel. Real ones." I stared at that text for a long time, and then I smiled, because Bree had no idea what was really coming. The lake house? That was never the end game. I had one more surprise, something that would make that Memorial Day showdown look like a warm-up, and once it landed, they'd finally understand what invisible looks like. But first, I needed to take a little drive, to a mailbox in a different zip code, with one very important envelope inside. The envelope I dropped into that out-of-town mailbox. It wasn't just a legal formality, it was a fuse. Inside it was my formal offer to sell my half of the lake house, not to the family, not even to anyone in state, to a retired couple from Oregon, Martha and Dennis. No kids, no cousins, no 4th of July fireworks or Memorial Day beer pong. Just 2 people looking for peace and privacy, and willing to pay above market as long as I guaranteed one thing. They'd never have to deal with my family. I included a condition in the contract, quiet enjoyment clause, strict right of entry. Controls and my favorite part? A gate, not a metaphorical gate, a physical one. Fenced, coded, locked. 3 days after they signed, my lawyer filed everything. The deed split was finalized. Access restrictions notarized. I got the notification at 8:13 a.m. At 9:06, my mom called me. At 9:07, I declined, and at noon, I sent the family an email, just one sentence. Check the county recorder's office. That was all it took. Within hours, my inbox exploded. Texts, voicemails, panic, rage, begging. You sold it? To strangers? They're putting up a gate? I didn't respond. I was already halfway through a whiskey sour on my new balcony. Because what they hadn't realized yet, what no one had thought to check, was that the LLC I used for the sale wasn't just a shell. It was also their former lifeline, the same one that used to pay their bills, float their emergencies, fund their little comforts. Now it was closed, liquidated, and the proceeds, all mine, $312,000 wired straight to a new account in my name. I didn't want their stuff. I didn't want revenge. I wanted freedom. But the money, that part was nice too. What happened next, though, was even better. My cousin Bree tried to sue me. Not a joke. She marched down to a local attorney and slapped down some half-baked claim about intentional emotional distress and family equity. My lawyer responded with a polite 3-page letter that included every clause they'd signed over the years, every disbursement record, and a copy of a message Bree herself had sent in 2021 that said, quote, "Joel's just a walking wallet with a laptop." Yeah, she sent that to the wrong group chat. And I screenshotted it. Case closed before it even opened. But here's the part that caught them completely off guard. I wasn't finished, because while they were busy crying over vacation homes and air conditioners, I was quietly executing phase 3, the foundation. It started as an idea at 2 a.m., a blurry thought scribbled on a napkin. If they don't want me in the family, build one that does. So I did. I used the remaining LLC funds to create a mentorship foundation in my city. Small, local, focused on underrepresented young adults looking to break into tech. Real people, hungry, talented, ignored. The applications started pouring. Within a week, guess who applied? Go on. Take a wild guess. Bree, she used a fake last name. Probably thought I wouldn't notice. Probably thought I'd already moved on. I hadn't. Her resume was solid. Degree in marketing, minor in analytics. Her cover letter was bland, robotic. Said she was looking to rebuild her career after family setbacks. Cute. So I stapled something to the top of her rejection letter. Just 6 words. You taught me how to disappear. No signature, no return address, just silence. And this time, it stuck. The emails slowed. The texts dried up. The angry voicemails became fewer, shorter, until one day the notifications stopped altogether. I thought I'd feel empty. I didn't. I felt clean. And then, 2 weeks later, the final twist landed on my doorstep, wrapped in a manila envelope from a courier I didn't recognize. Inside was a handwritten letter from my father. I hadn't spoken to him in almost a year. Not since he told me I was making too big a deal over the summer dinner. His handwriting was stiff, like he hadn't written in a while, but every word hit like a slow-moving bullet. Joel, I didn't see it before. I see it now. We treated you like a bank account, not a brother, not a son. I thought you were being dramatic. I didn't realize you were bleeding. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know. I finally understand. It wasn't tough, but it was something. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask me to fix anything. He just said, I see you. And for the first time in decades, I felt seen. I didn't answer the door the first time she knocked, or the second. The third time, she brought pie. Store-bought. Still cold from the fridge. It sat on my porch for 2 days before I threw it out. The fourth time, she didn't knock. Just left. A note under the mat. Joel, please, we need to talk. It wasn't signed, but I knew the handwriting. My sister's. Amanda. I stared at the paper for a long time. My gut reaction was to burn it, or shred it, or tape it back to her front door like a message from a mob boss. But I didn't. I folded it, and tucked it into the back of my drawer with the rest of the unsent apologies. She came back 1 week later. This time, I opened the door. She looked wrecked, like someone had deflated her carefully curated life. Her hair was frizzed, her makeup smudged, and her arms were full. Diapers, a tablet, a crushed cereal box. Don't slam the door, she said. I just need 5 minutes. You've got 2, she nodded. I'm not here to defend what happened. Good start. I'm here because I lost everything, she said, voice cracking. My business, my house, Mom's basement flooded last week and we're living in a motel. Liam, she gestured to her kid who was half asleep in the back seat of her SUV. He thinks I'm punishing him for something. I stayed silent. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know what part of me she was trying to reach. The brother or the man who finally got free? I read your rejection letter to Bree, she said, dropping her eyes. She showed it to me. You didn't even sign it. I raised an eyebrow. Didn't need to. Amanda shifted the cereal box in her arms. You were right, you know, about everything, about the way we treated you. You were the safety net. The fixer, the one who always said yes until one day you didn't. She let the silence hang there. I didn't come to ask for money, she added, or help. I just wanted you to know that I get it now. I almost believed her, until she said the next sentence, Liam misses you. And just like that, the armor cracked. I hadn't seen my nephew since his birthday, the one where I brought him the Lego spaceship set and helped him build the first half, the one where I found out I'd missed the real party, the one they didn't invite me to. What did you tell him? I asked, my voice low. She hesitated. That you're busy, that you needed space. That's not a lie, I said, but it's not the truth either. She nodded. He drew you something. Wants to mail it, but I didn't know if you'd even open it. I sighed and stepped aside. 5 minutes. She walked in slowly, like a tenant returning to a foreclosed house. I didn't offer coffee. I didn't ask how she was holding up. She sat down at my kitchen table, took out a wrinkled drawing and placed it gently on the wood. It was a spaceship. Crayon lines. Sloppy but determined. Uncle Joel's ship. It read in shaky kid handwriting. It goes really fast. It always comes back. My throat tightened. He keeps asking if you're mad at him, Amanda whispered. He doesn't understand grown-up problems. I stared at the drawing. I'm not mad at him, I'm mad at you. I know. I stood up, walked to the fridge, pulled out 2 sodas. I handed her one. She looked surprised. Is this, truce? No, I said. It's hydration, don't read into it. She laughed genuinely. It startled me. We didn't talk for long after that. She asked if she could give Liam my number. I said yes, with rules. No middle-of-the-night calls. No, hey, can you swing by and babysit Trix? Just let him be a kid, I said. Not a guilt tool. She nodded, eyes wet. You're really done with us, aren't you? I'm done letting you write my role, I replied. She left soon after. But she left something else too, a receipt. From a gas station 30 miles. Out of town. On the back, a message in blue ink. I'm sorry it took losing everything to realize what we lost. I didn't fold it. Didn't throw it away. I stuck it to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a cat in a space helmet. Liam gave me that magnet 2 years ago. It was the only thing left from the old version of this family that I hadn't burned. Later that night, my phone buzzed. A video message. Liam. He was whispering from a motel bed, blanket over his head like a tent. Hi, Uncle Joel, he said. I saw a shooting star. I made a wish. He paused, then added, I wished you'd come back. The screen shook as Amanda took the phone, said something I couldn't hear, and the video ended. I watched it 5 times. Then I sat down, opened my laptop, and created a new contact. Liam, favorite nephew. No one else got back in. But that one star, I wasn't ready to let it fade. Thanksgiving was 3 days away when I got the message. Not from my mom, not from Amanda, from Liam. It was a voice memo this time. Short, static-filled, barely 5 seconds. Mom says we're doing a thanks picnic this year. She says we can make our own traditions. I saved you a seat. That's it, no pleading, no emotional blackmail, just a kid trying to build something from ashes. I didn't respond right away. I didn't know how. Because part of me, the cold, sharp-edged part, wanted to ignore it. Wanted to stay in my clean, drama-free solitude and keep the past locked where it belonged. But the other part, the quieter one, remembered what it felt like to be that age sitting at the corner of the kids' table, forgotten while the adults laughed over wine and inside jokes. So on Thanksgiving morning, I drove. Not to the lake house, obviously. That was gone, sold, gated, untouchable. No, Amanda had rented a little public picnic space at a local park. I recognized the lot instantly. Mom used to take us there on Sundays when Dad worked doubles. We'd feed ducks, scrape our knees, fight over juice boxes. It was damp when I arrived, cold enough to need gloves. I almost turned around when I saw her minivan. But then I spotted Liam. He was wearing a beanie too big for his head and a scarf, made of what looked like old t-shirts tied together. When he saw me, he didn't wave. He ran. Uncle Joel! He crashed into me like a heat-seeking missile, nearly knocking the breath from my lungs. I knew you'd come. he yelled into my jacket. Mom said maybe, but I said yes. I smiled. Well, sounds like you were right. Amanda stood a few feet away, holding a foil-covered casserole dish like it was a peace offering. Her eyes met mine, cautious, but not surprised. You came, she said. Only for the macaroni, I deadpanned. She smiled, tired but real. Fair. They'd made an effort. Paper turkeys on the table, a Bluetooth speaker playing jazz that kept cutting out. The food was lukewarm. The cider was too sweet and the folding chairs creaked every time someone shifted. But none of it felt fake. It felt earned. We talked about nothing important. School, cartoons, Liam's new obsession with rockets. Amanda didn't bring up the past. I didn't poke at the future. We just let it be what it was. Until Mom showed up. I spotted her before Amanda did. Walking. Slowly from the lot, holding a plastic container with what I'd bet my life was cranberry sauce. She looked older, smaller, like life had finally landed a few punches she couldn't dodge. Amanda froze. Liam didn't notice. He was too busy trying to stack turkey slices into what he called a meat tower. I stood instinctively, not out of respect, out of reflex. Mom stopped a few feet away. Joel, she said softly. I said nothing. She looked down, cleared her throat. Amanda told me you might be here. I brought the cranberry stuff. You always liked it. I didn't answer. I didn't. Take the container instead. I looked at Liam. Hey, bud, I said, why don't you show me that new rocket design? He jumped up, dragged me toward the far picnic bench where he'd been sketching things with crayon on napkins. I heard Amanda and Mom behind us, soft voices, uneasy. I didn't listen, not yet. Liam held up a napkin with 3 crooked triangles stacked on top of a rectangle. This one has triple boosters, goes to Saturn and back. Back, huh? I said. That's the hard part. He nodded solemnly. But worth it. He didn't know he'd just summed up my entire internal war in 4 words. Eventually, the food was eaten. The sky started darkening, people packed up. Amanda gave me a hug, awkward, stiff, but it wasn't fake. I'm glad you came, she whispered. Even if it's just today. I didn't say it was just today. Her eyes flicked up. No promises either, I said. But I'm not deleting your number. She smiled at that. Then Mom stepped toward me. I don't expect anything, she said. Not after everything. I stayed quiet, but I read your letter. The one you sent with the lake house sale. That surprised me. I hadn't even known she saw it. I read it 3 times, she continued. I cried each one, not because it was cruel, because it was true. She offered the container again. This time I took it, didn't open it, didn't eat it, but I didn't throw it away either. She looked at me one last time, then turned and walked to her car. No scene, no tears, just, quiet. That night back at my place, I sat on the porch with a blanket and the cranberry container beside me. I didn't feel triumphant or vindicated, just tired. But under the fatigue, there was a flicker, not warmth, not forgiveness, just space. A crack in the door I'd slammed shut and maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. The message came on a Tuesday, no warning, no sender name, just a single text. He found the voicemail. For a second, I didn't know what it meant. I stared at it like a foreign language. Then it clicked. Liam, he'd found the voicemail, the one I left on his old tablet months ago when everything was burning down. I didn't even know if it had saved. I was half drunk, angry, heartbroken, and I had poured everything into it. Hey, buddy, it started, my voice low and raw. I don't know if you'll hear this. I don't even know if I'll send it, but I want you to know something. I never left you. I left the noise, the mess, the people who forgot I was human. A pause. You? You're the only part that still matters. Apparently, he heard it. An hour later, Amanda called. I ignored it. Then came a second text from her. He's asking if you'll come to his science fair. I didn't respond, not because I didn't want to, but because I was scared to want it again. That night I sat in the dark staring at my old family photos, ones where I stood in the corner of every frame, half smiling, half invisible, like I'd photobombed my own life. And then I saw it, a photo from 7 years ago, Liam's first birthday. I was holding him in one arm, a balloon in the other, and I was smiling, really smiling, before the exclusions, before the jokes whispered behind my back, before the silences taught me how loud absence can be. That's when I made a decision. I packed a bag. The next morning, I walked into River Hill Elementary with a visitor sticker on my chest and a pit in my stomach. The gym smelled like glue sticks and cafeteria chicken. Amanda saw me first. Her mouth dropped, then quickly reset into a restrained smile. She gave a single nod. Liam was standing by his project board, a rocket made of soda bottles and tinfoil. The title read, Mission, Home Base. He turned, saw me, Uncle Joel. He shouted, launching himself into my arms like a heat-seeking missile for the second time in 2 weeks. You came! I held him tighter than I meant to. Wouldn't miss it. We stood in front of his project for 10 full minutes while he explained propulsion, trajectory, and something about reverse gravity that made no sense but sounded brilliant. Amanda hovered nearby but gave us space. Then came the announcement over the loudspeaker. Third place, a papier-mâché volcano. Second, a robotic claw built by a kid who looked suspiciously like a future billionaire. And first place? Liam Dorsey. For Mission Home Base. He didn't cheer, he didn't jump, he just grabbed my hand, see? He whispered. Told you it could come back. That line cracked something in me I didn't know was still sealed shut. I drove Amanda and Liam home afterward. The motel was gone. They'd managed to move into a small rental. She invited me in. I said no. Not yet. Instead, I handed Liam a new Lego set. Triple booster, I said. Top speed. He gasped like it was gold. You're staying for the build, right? I hesitated, then nodded. I'm not going anywhere. That night, Amanda and I sat on the porch while Liam sorted bricks inside. You know, she said. Mom's been writing you letters. She hasn't sent them. But she writes them every day. I didn't answer. I read one, she admitted. It said, I miss the version of him that didn't give up on us. I looked at her. Tell her I didn't give up. I just gave back everything you handed me. Amanda winced but nodded. Before I left, she hugged me. This time it wasn't stiff. It was full of the mess we never cleaned up. I'm not asking for us to be fixed, she whispered. Good, I said. Because I'm not a fixer anymore. When I got home, I found something on my porch. A package, no return label. Inside was a framed version of Liam's drawing, the spaceship napkin from the picnic, and a note written in blocky kid letters. Uncle Joel's ship. It always comes. Back, I stared at it for a long time. My eyes burned, my chest ached, and then I laughed. A real laugh. The kind that starts deep and cracks through your ribs on the way out. Because in the end, it wasn't the lake house, or the money, or even the revenge, the real win. I got to be seen. Chosen. Not by people who used me, but by someone who meant it. I hung the drawing above my desk, and for the first time in years, I opened a blank page and started writing something new. Not a resignation letter, not a termination notice, just the first line of the next chapter. Some missions don't need a return route, but sometimes the right ones do. And this time, I wasn't flying solo. That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought, or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.